This guide is meant to support a stretch practice that maintains the health of both your muscles and fascia. When we think about stretching, we might think about making things longer, but it might surprise you to know that in healthy stretching, muscles and fascia can't actually get longer. Anatomically speaking, in order to do so, they'd have to tear. So instead, a healthy, productive stretch releases contraction and frees adhesive buildup in the tissue. So when we think about our stretch practice, we want to think more about the tone and flexibility in our tissues rather than their inherent length. In a way, you could say it's more about quality than quantity. So let's define our terms. For the purposes of these stretch videos, when we talk about tissue or soft tissue, we're talking about muscles and connective tissues, including tendons, ligaments, and fascia. When we talk about the tone of these tissues, we're talking about how tight or loose they are. Ideally, they all have a similar level of tension and pull on bones and joints equally. This is how we're born. Over time, though, through wear and tear, our systems lose their inherent economy of motion. Repetitive motion, accident, and injury can create contraction and adhesive buildup in the tissue. These adhesions are laid down between layers of fascia to support tissue healing. Once the healing process is complete, stretching can help release those adhesions. But if left untreated, those same helpful adhesions can actually restrict tissue healing and range of motion, leaving us at even higher risk for accidents later on. Now let's talk a little more about fascia. Fascia is a type of flexible connective tissue that covers every cell, every muscle, every organ, nerve, vein, and artery. Inside, it touches every part of us, creating a network between all of our cells. It is the most universal tissue in the body, going even more places than blood, which, fun fact, is actually connective tissue. Fascia doesn't just line the outside of cells, though. It comes in sheets and planes, too, dividing and defining the sections of our bodies and giving us our human shape. Through the course of wear and tear, these sections may become adhered to each other, either through repetitive motion, accident, or injury. When this happens, in order to prevent further injury, fascia can actually begin to thicken. However, if left long enough, these contractions and adhesions in the tissue leave fascia feeling dehydrated and unable to deliver nutrition and hydration in order to repair and revitalize. Sort of like it's filled with dried rubber cement as opposed to smooth Vaseline. Because fascia stores an astonishing 25% of our body's water, helping to deliver nutrition to organs and cells, it's important that we help fascia stay lubricated and juicy. More than just connecting parts, fascia is also responsible for very important conversations with the brain. Its neural connections, which are far more vast than that of muscle, help us orient to ourselves in the world, to sense what is going on outside of us and inside of us. And it helps us respond to stress and potential physical threats. More than just connecting parts, though, fascia is also responsible for very important conversations with the brain. Its neural connections, which are far more vast than that of muscle, help us orient ourselves to the outer world. These connections also give us a sense of what is going on internally in our own bodies. The type of nerve endings found in fascia are picky. While fascia's primary job is to connect all of our parts and keep them connected, fascial nerve endings require a very literal sense of safety in order to be stretched. Because of this, when we're trying to stretch fascia, we need to take a patient and passive approach. When we practice stretching as opposed to running or jumping or putting the dishes away, we're calling on particular brain receptors which are very fond of patience. By backing off and finding stillness in a stretch, we begin to be in the stretch instead of doing the stretch. On the other hand, when we push a stretch too far or too long, our connective tissue will get the signal that it needs to do its job and stay connected. It will lay down further adhesion to protect itself from potential injury. It makes sense then that when we stretch in a way that is stressful to our body, we are actually encouraging more restriction. When we push a stretch too far or too long, our connective tissue will get the signal that it needs to do its job and stay connected. It'll lay down further adhesion to protect itself from potential injury. When we stretch in a way that is stressful to our body, we're actually encouraging more restriction. Passive, restful stretching creates more opportunity for stillness and disengagement, which helps relax the tissues. Passively stretching the tissue leads to a deeper sense of unwinding across the entire body as the nervous system is encouraged to settle. When we stretch without feeling the need to protect ourselves, we avoid activating the nervous system and begin to redefine our baseline comfort levels. This creates more resilience to stress, both mentally and physically. Now, let's go over how to decide what to stretch during your practice. If you're trying to resolve an issue, familiarize yourself with the anatomy of the region before diving in. If you're a visual learner, for example, look at drawings or photographs. Then get out of your head and into your body. If you're more kinesthetic, maybe close your eyes, take a deep breath, and feel in. If you're more auditory, talk yourself through it. Excellent self-awareness gives way to more accurate self-diagnostics. Try doing the same physical activity with varying qualities of movement and assess when that activity is easier or more difficult. Use different ways of getting into or out of positions, or use more or less force to do a given activity. Apply these explorations of movement to your stretch practice. Familiarize yourself with what you feel and where in your body you feel it. Making yourself more present physically helps to build your interoception, the type of proprioception used to sense what is going on inside of our bodies. Knowing which tissues to stretch and which not to will help you feel more comfortable and stay safe in stretching. Beyond being present with your body, use this practice as an opportunity to check in with all of your resources. It isn't just a matter of what you feel like your body needs. Energy, space, relationships, free time, even finances all play a part. So be prepared to change course. Start small and let improvement happen slowly. These are some additional points to consider before entering any stretch practice. Always start and end every stretch with a quick check-in. Start every new stretch with subtlety. You want to enter and exit the stretch gently, and don't stay in any stretch, especially a new one, too long. 30 to 90 seconds per side is a great amount of time in 30-second intervals. Spend less time stretching what's easy or where you have more mobility. The more challenging the pose, the more likely you need it. When we stretch the tightest things first, meaning the most resistant tissues, we help create balance in the musculoskeletal system. This decrease in tensional stress frees up our balance and makes orienting more automatic. In turn, the nervous system is able to settle. Also, make sure to allow for integration after each stretch. For example, if you're doing a stretch for the lower body, shake a leg between stretching each side to encourage blood to return to that area. Even better, get up and take a short walk. I like to say walking helps the jello gel, meaning it helps our work integrate into our systems. And remember, never fall asleep with props in place, as this can lead to instability and misalignment in the joints. People often struggle to set aside a dedicated period of time to focus on their body's needs. Starting small is a great way to integrate this habit into your daily life because it's an achievable goal you can continue to build toward. Stretching sessions of a few minutes each is a good way to start. And when you have short sessions like this, you can do more of them in a day. Shorter, more frequent sessions are better than longer, less frequent sessions. I like to talk about even shorter stretch practices for those of us that feel particularly busy. I like to call them 10-second mini vacations. You can fit in 10 seconds of breath, meditation, or movement work almost anywhere at any time. And the more often we integrate practices like this into our daily life, however short they are, the deeper we weave them into the fabric of our reality. So now let's talk about some of the tools that help stretch fascia and mobilize joints.